All right, it is time for some more stuff. So, switching gears yet again to the old red F100, the 76. This is our super budget build. I wouldn't even call it a restoration. It's a bring it back to life and get it running. I chose to switch gears and work on this one because this is the closest to a taggable, drivable, everyday truck. We still got lots of work to do on the super cab. So wanted to get this one mobile, get it going, and the big problem with it is brakes. As you can see, the fronts are locked up hard. Calipers are just totally shot.
Sneak peek here, that was not the problem.
So I got a new set of calipers for the front and rear. It's weird since I just Krylon rebuilt these, but hey, what do you know? So we're gonna go ahead and yank them off. Not a huge deal, but I'll let you tag along and see. Get these old calipers off, get the new calipers on, get everything cleaned up, and then see if we can get this thing running, driving, move it down the road. If so, we're gonna get this bad boy tagged, and I'm gonna drive it around for work for the next couple days just to kind of put it through the paces. So let's go ahead and dive on in. This thing hasn't run since the last time I recorded the video, so it's been a hot minute. And it did fire up pretty uneventfully. I did have to coax it just a little bit and crank on it to get some fuel pressure built up. But she fired off, she ran. Got a fancy new air cleaner that's gonna top off the engine bay. But as you saw in the last video, timing set, carburetor's gone through. I mean, really, it's done mechanically. So I'm hoping with some new brakes on this thing in the front, she'll be ready to hit the road in style. I went ahead and pre-loosened all my lug nuts so you can spare you guys that expense. Got it up in the air. I do have a jack stand under it for safety. And I'm only going to do one side at a time, so we're just going to take our time and ease through it. Lug nuts off. I feel like I've done this a million times on this truck now. We got the wheels off and put the new ones on, and then we took them off to put in the coil spacers. And now we're taking them off to do the brakes. So I feel like it's just a never-ending saga of taking the wheels off this thing. Also, now that we're getting this done, we're going to get it cleaned up, and next big thing is interior. Because I'm sick of taking the wheels on and off this thing. We've been doing that a lot. And these things are heavy. I gotta figure out, this is a slightly different style than the ones on like the newer, later 70s, 80s models. They have those stupid little cotter key deals. This doesn't have that. It actually has like a lockdown here. Figure out exactly how it's installed. We got you zoomed in here, pulling this bolt off on the side here that holds that, like, I'll show you the new one. That bolt holds down this like cotter piece. It sits right here like that. The bolt goes in and locks it. It goes that, and then there's like a spring clip sits above it like this, and this is what holds that whole caliper assembly in. So I just tapped and took my hammer and tapped, and this thing just Yahtzeed right on out of there. So now that's out, bolt's out. God, that caliper is going to be super tight though because it's mashed on. So we're going to loosen the brake bleeder. Loosen that up. should be able to just kind of work this guy off here. That's it right there for a minute. It's almost out. We're going to go ahead. I wanted to wait till the last minute to undo this hose, because once we do, we got a mess. We want to make sure we're putting the right caliper on the right side. Let's see what we got here. They're two different colors for some reason. Not sure why that is. It's because it's high quality stuff we're working with here, clearly. So this is the other side, because it'll go like that. So this is the driver. This is the passenger. I'm gonna go ahead and take the banjo bolt. Can you guys see that? Let's see. Boop. Take the banjo bolt all the way out of this one. Drop it on the ground, that's nice. Stage it up so that way as soon as this comes out and fluid starts going everywhere, we can quickly throw the other one on. Oh, I actually didn't Krylon rebuild this side, but I painted the other side, which I guess tracks since even from the remans only one side's painted, so I'm not doing any worse than they are. 9/16 looks like the ticket there. Yep. There we go. Totally frozen. Brake clean, sandpaper, clean up the rotor a little because we're not rebuilding them. Here's how high budget we're going. Brake pad reinstalled. No, until I know this truck's worth keeping, I'm not going to spend a ton of money on anything, including new brake pads. These are at about half life, so. Before we go fully reassembling, let's go ahead and take care of this line that's just leaking profusely everywhere. Just snug's good for now. Let's get our fancy spring retainer doohickey. Slide it up and in here. Just goes just like that. So that bolt lines up. New bolt comes with it. The bolt's got this conical piece. You can see how it's got that tapered seat, and we're just going to bury that tapered seat down. Different size than the old one. Nine 9/16 will get it. here's my commitment to quality, since got this nice fancy new caliper on here that's gonna almost probably immediately look rusty and crappy. Coat it in clear. That'll help protect it a little bit. Drag this cleared on side over here. And clean that off. Boom. Wheel and lug nuts. Get enough to lower down. We did the slow side over there. We did the learning side, I like to call it. But we're gonna do the fast side over here. Enjoy part 2, side 2, the driver's side. So I was telling you about different hardware. Here's the old bolt that's going here that holds that thing I was wailing on with the hammer, that little keyway that locks it in. It's got this notch out for the screw and I guess different applications. Here's the new one, and it's got that conical seat like a lug nut that basically just gives it, looks like a little bit of room for play. This one went in, it's funny, the other side had a lock washer, this one doesn't. But, so this one's totally different. And it's just conical. So, but we're gonna go with that. We're gonna go with the new one, run it in. It'll give it a little bit of slippage, which it probably needs. And run this down. That's tight, I just tightened it up. So the brake line's good. We'll run this in, and then we just gotta bleed these and see what we get.
Tomorrow, Jason, again, what we got was not good.
I hate brakes. If I could not do anything ever again, it'd probably be brakes. Or body work. I also hate body work. Fortunately, both of these trucks need each of those things. But the price was right. So you either get an expensive truck and all that's done, or you get a cheap truck and you get to have fun and sometimes do the things you don't quite want to. But I don't mind. Most of this is an enjoyable process, and that's why I love these F100s, because they actually are relatively easy to work on. Got my trusty sidekick. All right, let's check our brake levels, fluid levels. I'm diving back underneath. Backs are already done. We're working on the fronts now. These ought to have a lot of air in them. Okay, go ahead.
Ready?
Yep, 3 and hold.
1, 2, 3, hold.
Nothing but air. All right, do it again.
And then we just kept doing that about 12 more times until we got all the air out of the system.
All right, we're reassembled. We're We're bled. We're about to go on our test run. But now it's time to put the top hat on this fancy guy and throw us a air cleaner on it, since we've been running without one for forever. So I got the basically cheapest, next to cheapest one Amazon had. It is, well, I got the cheapest black one they had. I thought black would look cool. I got the Edelbrock to go on top of our Holly carb, because continuity is very important to me. It's not. Alright, we'll see if it'll just drop right on there without clearance issue. That's what I'm hoping. Man, how does it do with our throttle linkage and adherence? Nope, perfect. Bam, look at that. We're big time now. It's like a brand new motor, basically, but not. Transmission is, though. Alright, so we're going to fire this guy off, take it for a test run, see how our brakes do. Brakes do good, we know we're done with that. And then we can move on to interior. And the final thing's going to be cleaning up this engine bay and repainting it, but let's get real. We want it to drive good and be comfortable first. We can fix that up later while we're cruising this thing. So let's see what we get. Let's see here. She did crank earlier to move it, so let's see how fast it fires up. All right. We gotta let her warm up a little. She is a little cranky. You can roll into her though. Brake booster feels good. It returns good. Drops into gear good. She creeps forward a little better. Brakes are still sticking, but I think that might now be the rear sticking a little. She also just needs to run and get those calipers moving. Let's see if we can creep her up here. There we go. She is cranky. See if she comes around with just a little running, but we might have to mess with the carb again. If you get into it more than just a tiny touch of throttle, it just wants to die out. Yeah, that's awful. Let's circle back. So tomorrow Jason is here, and I'm armed with knowledge that I didn't have yesterday. So last night was Florida Georgia football game weekend, so we went out, had a little fun. I'm a little worse for wear today, But we took a break from wrenching on this. I had to put a new starter in the Jeep because it had failed. So we switched gears. I didn't record that, but we threw a starter in the Jeep and took it out to the Moose Lodge for some drinks and entertainment and some good hang time. So that was nice. And now we're back at it. And I gave you some ominous foreshadowing on the truck here yesterday during those recordings, because what I have deduced is, well, yes, at least one of these calipers was locked up. The driver's side one was bad. Passenger side caliper may not have actually been bad at all, and they're both still sticking after replacement. And I believe that is now due to the push rod length on the booster to master cylinder. If you'll remember, or if you want to go back and watch, one of the earlier videos was me changing this thing out in the middle of a thunderstorm. And because it was monsooning on top of me and I was hiding under the hood for shelter trying to get this thing on, I'm thinking I didn't realize that the push rod may be slightly too long and is always putting pressure on the piston of the master cylinder, causing the fronts to drag. That's what I now think and hope is the problem, because if that's not it, then I'm not really sure what's going on. Maybe a bad proportioning valve, but when I bleed them, I get fluid through all four, so I don't think the prop valve is the issue. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to just unbolt the master and pull it back enough without uncoupling the lines. Just kind of give them a little bit of give this way and see if we can check that push rod length. One thing I also noticed was that the push rod just falls right out of this thing when you take the master cylinder off, which it's not supposed to. So we're going to hunt, we're going to dig around, we're going to try and see what's what, and hopefully get to the bottom of this thing for us. All right, so we got 9/16 on a little 1/4 inch. Let's see if we can crack these loose. Man, whoever put these on really gave them the beans. Wonder who that was. Let's double wrench them off to start. That one's loose. I was just as foolish on this side. Could also be that paint on the threads, I suppose, not helping. But we got it started. So my assumption is that that's not supposed to come out. Although it doesn't have a retainer, so maybe that's not true. But you can definitely feel where it belongs. It kind of slots in, but it doesn't tighten or anything. That's all you get. So we're going to have to measure. All right, so if I take this guy and drop it in, and then I took my razor blade and dropped it right here to get myself a good clean mark, and then I marked that with the Sharpie. That's that mark you can see there. But the distance of this goes inside that seat. So what I did was I took that distance, I measured it here on this razor blade, put a Sharpie dot, and then I took the difference there. I lined up and remarked it. So, and moved it down and marked our, it's hard to see, but anyway, I marked it, marked the difference, and now we need to stick this back in there and see if it matches up. That's a pretty good angle so you can pick up what I'm putting down here. So we dropped it in, got that mark. But then we need the distance from here to there, which is this much. So if you do that, boom, it gets you to Sharpie mark here. So that Sharpie mark should be flush with the face when this is fully installed and seated. If I take this and drop it down, it pretty much is. It's right at, yeah, seems about right. So I don't think it's pushing on it. Which then the problem lies in not knowing then what our actual issue is. Unless this booster's just bad. But I don't think that's the case. I don't think the master cylinder's bad. It's not leaking. I'm going to give this thing just a little bit of snug down and tighten and bring that cap in because it's adjustable. But gosh, I don't know. I don't think that's our issue. But it is, as you can see, an adjustable end cap on there. So we're going to give it just a little bit of a twist. And what that little bit of a twist is going to do is shorten the length of our push rod, which means it's going to give us a slightly longer throw to get into the pedal. I don't want to do too much. Let's try that. It's real close. I'd rather have a slightly shorter throw and not have it drag. That's much it. And if we slide it up against, that seems correct. So let's go ahead and cinch it back up. All right. Let's see what that does on the pedal feel. All right, let's see how this pedal does now. It's pretty stiff.
Due to some technical difficulties, I lost the audio in a part of the video here, but this is me pumping the brakes to see if the front and rear reservoirs were moving fluid. And as you can see, the front reservoir, which is actually the rear brakes, is the only one doing anything. So we went ahead and started messing with the proportioning valve, pulled the little reset pin out on the front, and tried to kind of free that thing up and see if maybe the prop valve was just stuck and not allowing the fluid to move and return on that front bank. So we'll give that a whirl, and then here we go, pumping again. And as you can see this time, boom, we're starting to get some fluid movement to those front calipers. So now we're getting fluid coming back and bleeding the pressure off. So we should be all set. Go ahead and cap that bad boy off, wipe everything down, and we should be good to go. I think it was kind of a twofold problem. I don't know that it was off by much, but we did shorten that push rod, and then playing around with that proportioning valve seems to have freed up and gotten the fluid moving for our brakes.
All right, so we adjusted the push rod length. We popped that cap off, made sure we had fluid moving in both front and rear reservoirs of that master cylinder, and we do. So brakes are tackled. Pretty much all new hardware on it now. I went ahead and tinkered with the carb some too, readjusted it. It was just not quite happy the way it was. The main thing was it was pushing on the accelerator pump a little too much when you just gave it light throttle. So I backed that nut off, adjusted it out. So now it's a lot happier when you start to get into it. So good there. Rain's going to shut us down today, but next time we'll be tackling the interior and making this thing more livable. Hope you guys enjoyed it. See you next time when we do more stuff.